All right, good evening, everybody. Number 200 in our hymn book. It might be a new one, or if you know it, definitely one we haven't sung in a long time. Beautiful words, very, very good words. We'll play it through once. The words are on there if you want to get a hymn book. Sometimes the hymn books are lekker because you can kind of follow along with the notes. There we go, that sounds good. In the hymn book. The words, I do have the words up there, but if you want to follow in the hymn books, you're welcome to. Okay, number 200. You think he knows it well enough? I'm very much reliant on him knowing it well enough because my singing voice is not so good. How many of you know this one? Never heard it? All right, let's see if we can croak it. Do you know it well enough? Okay, he can croak it well enough. All right, number 200 verses. We'll sing 1, 2, and 3 because it is a new one. Jesus, I am resting in the joy of what thou art. I am finding out thy greatness of thy loving heart. Thou hast bid me gaze upon me, and thy beauty is my soul. For thy forming power, thou hast made me whole. Jesus, I am resting in the joy of what thou art. I am finding out thy greatness of thy loving heart. In the front. I behold thou art, and thy love so pure, so changeless, satisfies my heart. Meets, deepest longing meets, supplies its every need, compasseth me round with blessing. Thine is love indeed. Jesus, I am resting in the joy of what thou art. I am finding out thy greatness of thy loving heart. Ever lift thy face upon me as I work and wait for thee, resting 'neath thy smile, Lord Jesus, earth's dark shadows flee. Brightness of my Father's glory, sunshine of my Father's face, me ever trusting, resting, fill me with thy grace. All right. I only have, call. What thou art, I am finding out the greatness of thy loving heart. Well done. Okay. All right, what's that hymn about? Resting. Does resting means... He's right. Steve's right. Is resting means sleep? What does he mean by resting? What does she mean actually? It's a she, that Scottish lady who wrote this song. Resting in the Lord. Whoever said that? Well done. All right. So good singing. Not bad for first time, hey? All right. Matthew chapter 5. Verses 1 to 11. We're obviously not going to finish it. We're just going to introduce it. And we're going to stick with this passage until when we finish for the December holidays. And isn't it amazing how fast they come, hey? Yeah, so quick. How many of you heard of the name Bill Borden? William. His actually name is William. His name was William. Bill Borden. Bill Borden was he came from a wealthy aristocratic family from America. His father owned several industrial concerns, and it was assumed by the family that one day William or Bill Borden would take over from his father's empire. While he was studying at Yale, you know Yale. Do you know Yale was one upon a time, it was started by Christians. It was a Christian university. And Harvard. Either way, William Borden, while studying at Yale, he got saved. He started reading his Bible, and he felt God's calling to be a missionary to China. And so when he told his parents that he wanted to be a missionary in China, his parents couldn't believe it. After all, why be a missionary in China when you've got all the money, all the power, all the prestige people dream about? Leave it and go to China. And his father threatened him. His father said, if you do leave for China, you will be disinherited. And what do you think he did? I love you, Dad, bye-bye. And so off he went to China, and on his way to China, he stopped off in India to learn some Arabic. I don't know why. I can't remember. I do have his book. And while in Egypt, he contracted malaria and he died. He never made it to China. And the morning his mom went over, I don't know what happened to his father, but his mom went over to sort out his stuff and started packing his things in Egypt. And in his diary, she found a note, which was the last things he wrote. Obviously, he wrote this when he was sick. He said, no retreat, no return, no regrets. This young man, he was young, early 20s. This young man knew something about what many unsaved people, and sadly many believers, don't discover until sometimes it's too late. Worldly values will not make you happy. One man said this. He said, the trouble with many Christians is that they have to be so confoundedly happy. They have delighted themselves to the pursuit of happiness, and they boast about happiness as an inalienable right, as though happiness were the supreme and absolute goal of existence. Surely, he said, there are more important things in life than just the pursuit of happiness. Now, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be happy. Today I had a lovely meal, and after the meal, after supper time, I sat down with a lovely cup of coffee. So we had some problems with something else that happened, and Gloria and I thought, how are we going to solve this? And it's solved. And so afterwards, I was happy. No one wants to be a grouch or a Grinch. We like to be happy. The problem, however, is when our whole life is wrapped up in the pursuit of happiness. Some person might buy a dozen homes and he thinks all those homes are going to make him happy. There's another guy that, I don't know if he's still alive, but Laurie and I watched a travel show. He was the exact opposite of that. He wanted no homes. And so he went into the Arctic Circle and he built himself a little log cabin, and when the travel guy went and saw him, he had been there stoksel alleen for 15 years. So some person, he might think, well, that's going to make him happy. Some ladies think becoming a nun will make them happy. Another lady might crave relationships. Some people, happiness is found in sports. Other people think happiness is found in drugs or alcohol. Some people think happiness is found in children. If you think that, well, it's too late. I've only got 2. Go to their house. They've got 3 small ones. And some people think no children. Actually, some people think no children means happiness, and they replace the children with the 2 dogs and the cats. You know how that is. Some people think that happiness is about, if I just get married, I will be happy. And other things, people think marriage, not on your life, and so they live together. The point I'm trying to make is there's nothing wrong with the desire to be happy. It becomes a problem when our whole life is wrapped up in the pursuit of happiness. And in this passage that Jesus is talking about, in Matthew chapter 5, he offers a plan as to how we can be happy from Jesus' perspective. Look at Matthew chapter 5. What do we call Matthew chapter 5? Okay, we call Matthew 5, 1 to 11 the Beatitudes. We call it the Sermon on the Mount. It begins in Matthew chapter 5, and where does it end? Matthew chapter 7, okay, with the house on the rock. You know that passage. It is the longest recorded message that Jesus preached. 134 verses. He preached something very similar, but not. It's found in Luke, and Luke only gives us 30 verses, but it's different time periods. We're not going to go to the Luke one at all. And so over the next few weeks, we are going to just be looking at the Beatitudes. Okay, why is it called the Beatitudes? Let's just get this out of the way. Where do you see the word Beatitudes in here? You don't, unless you have a Latin Bible. Okay? So why do we call it the Beatitudes? This is just general knowledge. Beatitudes is Latin for? Laurie? You wrong. Yeah, I love it when I can tell my wife she's wrong. Husbands, don't you love it? All right? No, it's a good guess though, girl. All right? Beatitudes is Latin. It's a Latin word for happiness, to be blessed. All right? I don't know who decided to call it the Beatitudes, but that's how we know it as now. So let's read it. And seeing the multitudes. So we're going to read this every week. So by the time we finish this, you will be able to more or less know the Beatitudes. Okay? And seeing the multitudes, he went up into a mountain, and there Jesus, and when he was set, his disciples came unto him, and he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are, do you see how the pronoun changes here? Verse 10, blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And then in verses 11, blessed are, not third person now, blessed are y'all, you all, when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. So let me stop here. Who's the you? It's the disciples. How do you know it's yes, it's Christians in application, you're right. How do you know it's the disciples? Well done. All right. And so what we are going to do, we're going to start today just by looking at the context of the Beatitudes, and then our plan each week to go through one of the Beatitudes. Okay, and so that gives us how many weeks to do the Beatitudes? How many Beatitudes are there? Quickly count. You can count by counting the word blessed. 9. Well done, Kirsty. See what happens when you guys move to the front. Ah, I've asked the questions and they've answered all of them. Okay, there's 9 Beatitudes and there's 9 times you see the word blessed. So each week we're going to do that. So now you know when we're going to finish our Wednesday nights. Okay, Lord willing. So let's do the context, the biblical context. In verses 1, Jesus, look at verse 25 of the previous chapter. And there followed him great multitudes of people from Galilee and from Decapolis and from Jerusalem and from Judea and from beyond Jordan. What's Greek for great multitudes? Great. There's a lot of people. Okay? From where are these people? Where are they coming from? Yeah, basically Galilee. Okay? Decapolis is a city on the southern part of the Sea of Galilee. Either way. So there's all these people, and they're following Jesus, and Jesus, chapter 5, verse 1, and seeing the multitudes, he went up into a mountain. And when he sat down, his disciples came unto him, and he taught, and he opened up his mouth, verse 2, and taught them. So all these multitudes are around him, but Jesus sits down, and who's he specifically teaching here? The multitudes are there listening, but he's teaching his disciples. Okay? And so this sermon is specifically to his disciples. Now, how many of you, I'm not nitpicking, this is for free. Okay, I'm not nitpicking at all. But don't put up your hands because I don't want to embarrass you in any way. Because we all have differences. There's certain things that are not right or wrong. As a family, we used to watch a few months ago, or years ago now, we used to watch the show called The Chosen. When they came to this passage, I said, that is it. I couldn't watch it anymore. It just drove me bonkers. Because what they did is this. When they had the actor who acted like Jesus do the Sermon on the Mount, he was practicing the Sermon on the Mount with his disciples. And in the series, he was saying, he quoted it, and he said, what do you think to Mary? Is this all right? Will the people like this? And I said, that's it. I absolutely had enough. And so this is not a rehearsed message by Jesus. This is Jesus on the mountain talking to his disciples for a specific reason, which we'll mention now. Why is it called the Sermon on the Mount? Do you know that it's called the Sermon on the Mount? Why is it called the Sermon on the Mount? You lost your record. Okay? Because he went up into a mountain. That's pretty easy. Well done. Okay? All right, so he goes onto a mountain, and this message is directed to his disciples, but it was heard by all. And if I had to give a theme for the Sermon on the Mount, it's simply that Jesus was giving his disciples or his followers what it means to live righteously in God's kingdom. Okay, what does a righteous man, what does a saved man look like? In a nutshell, that is it. Okay, but we're not going to get into all of that because we're just dealing with the Beatitudes. Now, the very first word as Jesus begins this message is the word blessed. It is found 9 times, and in simple language, the word blessed means happy. It's a little bit more than happy, but I'm just starting it off that way. From a world's perspective, if you had to ask the world to describe what it means to be blessed or what it means to be happy, somebody wrote the world's version of the Beatitudes. I don't know who that person is. I've had this for a while, and so let me just read this. Here's the world's version of what does it mean to be happy. Blessed are the rich, for they have it all, and have it all now. Blessed are the happy, for they are content with themselves and don't need others. Blessed are the arrogant, blessed are the arrogant, for people defer to them. Blessed are those who fight for the good things in life, for they will get them. Blessed are the sophisticated, for they will have a good time. How very different to Jesus' version of what it means to be a blessed or happy man. You think of what I just read, and look how Jesus describes a happy person. And I want you to read, I'm just going to summarize all of this, and I want you to think you the crowd. And when you hear Jesus say the word blessed, immediately you're saying, oh, Jesus is describing a happy person. And Jesus says, a person who's happy is going to be poor in spirit. A person who's happy is going to be someone who mourns, someone who's meek, someone who's hungry and thirsty, someone who's merciful, someone who's pure in spirit, somebody who's a peacemaker, somebody who's persecuted, somebody who's reviled. And if I'm in that audience, I'm thinking, am I hearing correctly? These adjectives that describe a blessed person are the exact opposite of what you think happiness is. Poor in spirit equals happiness? That doesn't. Mourners? That doesn't sound like a word describing someone who's happy. Hungry and thirsty, peacemaker, persecuted, you revile, and you're supposed to be happy? You can imagine somebody in the crowd going, my goodness, this guy's got to be kidding. Because none of these adjectives that describe happiness are words that are used to describe happy people. And so from an audience perspective, I bet you some of them are thinking, my goodness, this king sounds absurd. However, the word blessed is not just happy. When I say happy, what do you think it means? Joyful, okay. Content. Okay, let me switch the question. Okay, blessedness is what? Blessed is peaceful. Blessed is content. Why does he use blessed and not happy? Because blessed is a joy and peace and a bliss not dependent on circumstances, but dependent on God who has done something for me. Quick example, Ephesians chapter 3 verse 5. God has blessed us with all spiritual blessings in heavenly places. And if you think back in Ephesians, what are those spiritual blessings that God has given to us in Ephesians chapter 1? Let's see if the youth can get this. You guys want the aircons on? Want them on? Okay, because I see my wife's going. You know when your wife's doing this, when you get home, what's going to happen? Why'd you put the aircons on? Okay? What spiritual blessings, thank you Dylan, what spiritual blessings do Christians have in Ephesians chapter 1? We're chosen before the foundation of the world. We're adopted according to God's good pleasure. So we're blessed because of what God has done for us. Happiness, the word itself by definition, thank you, is a word, I'm happy because of circumstances. In actual fact, this is for free if you like history, which I do. The word happy is an Anglo-Saxon word directed from the word hap, H-A-P, which means happiness because of circumstances. So Laurie cooked a great meal tonight. Therefore, I am happy. Okay, do you know that phrase, Q sera sera? Whatever will be, will be. And so whatever, if things go in my favor, I am therefore going to be happy. All right, so happiness is circumstantial, but it is uncertain, and it's temporary, and it's insecure, because it's dependent on whether things are going well for me. But to be blessed is not dependent on circumstances. It's an inner peace, an inner bliss, an inner happiness, an inner joy that is not produced by circumstances in my life. Somebody put it this way. He said the world can win its joys and the world can equally well lose its joys. A change in fortune, a collapse in health, the failure of a plan, the disappointment of an ambition, even a change in the weather can take away the fickle joy the world can give. But the Christian has the serene and untouchable joy which comes from walking forever in the company and in the presence of Jesus Christ. The Beatitudes are not wistful glimpses of some future beauty. They are not even golden promises by some glory. They are triumphant shouts of bliss for a permanent joy that nothing in the world can take away. So number one, before we carry on, we see the biblical context is Jesus. When he talks about being happy, he's not talking about your circumstances changing. He's talking, when he uses the word peace, blessed, he's talking about an inner peace, an inner bliss that is independent of circumstances. So number two, we see the political context. When he's talking to the disciples and to the multitudes, what do they think is going to, what were they taught about the Messiah? Very quickly.
Beat the Romans.
He's going to beat the Romans. He's going to come up and just smack the Romans and change things externally. And if you look at this passage, did Jesus ever talk about politics? There's no politics at all. So Jesus, the political context is Jesus is saying, change is not dependent on a change of government. Okay? And then thirdly, we see the religious context. In this group of audience that he's addressing, there's Pharisees. What did the Pharisees believe? Basically, traditional legalism. Okay? What did the Sadducees believe? They no resurrection. They were the modernists. They were the liberals. So the Pharisees would have been the right wing. The Sadducees would have been the left wing. The Essenes, they were part of this multitude. They would believe that there's no happiness unless you're completely separated from the world. But their separation wasn't separation in terms of holiness. Their separation was separation geographically. So let's establish a camp and we'll all move into that camp. And no one can influence us. The problem is you can't influence people either. Then there's the Zealots. They were all in this crowd. And what did they believe? If you don't agree with me, revolution. We're gonna kill you. So just like the previous point, in terms of the political context, the religious context is these people were brought up to believe, whether you're a Pharisee, Sadducee, Essenes, or Zealot, or just the crowd, that change is external. Whereas from Jesus' perspective, it is true we are to be externally obedient. But you can be obedient to God externally and internally what? Completely disobedient. So I tell my kids, when I say be obedient to mom or dad, it's not just action, it's attitude as well. Okay? So within this introduction, 3 points in. When I say in closing, it's a lengthy closing, but it's in closing. Okay? Number one, in terms of an introduction, the pursuit of happiness. How do I know? Let me state this in the form of a question. The pursuit of happiness, the pursuit of true happiness, okay, not external happiness, the true happiness is part of God's purpose for you and me. How do I know that's true from this passage? I don't mean happiness as in what I've just said. I mean happiness in the way God is talking about here. Does God want us to be happy? How do you know that? That's how it starts. It's the word blessed. And he's used that word 9 times. Okay? And so Jesus starts off this great sermon describing the characteristics of what a happy man is or looks like. John 10:10 says, the thief cometh not but for to steal and to kill and to destroy, but I am come that they might have life and that they might have the life more abundantly. So Jesus doesn't want us to walk around, bags of cement on you. He wants us to be blessed. He wants us to be happy. Number 2, the pursuit of true happiness is a journey inward. Okay? Now listen to this one. The pursuit of true biblical happiness is a journey inward. Jesus wants us to be happy, but there isn't one reference in this passage where he references health, work, income, financial security, homes, love, or friends. People think so long as I'm healthy, I'll be happy. So long as I have good work, I'll be happy, etc., etc. Jesus addresses happiness here, but he doesn't address the things that modern man thinks will make them happy. And the reason he doesn't do that is because those things often accompany happiness, but those things can never produce happiness. You get it? Okay? So the pursuit of true happiness is a journey inward. Now listen, I'm trying to be careful and loving here because some of you might think I'm picking on you, but I'm not at all. The secular world will vehemently disagree with us. And many Christians would disagree with us in action. When I say this, I mean this. The pursuit of true happiness is a journey inward. Now, when I say the secular world will disagree with us, what do you think I mean by that? And why do they disagree with it? In general. Why do you think that is?
Well, most people in the world don't want to admit
Yes.
issues and stuff.
Okay, when we say what is the world's view of man? I don't know if I'm getting myself clear.
Perfect already.
Pardon? No?
Perfect already.
Okay. From an evolutionary perspective or a secular perspective, man consists of what? Just a physical side of him. I'm just flesh, I'm just body. From an evolutionary perspective, I am not body and soul stroke spirit. Okay? So I'm just an animal basically. There's only a physical side of me. There is not a physical and a spiritual stroke emotional side of me. All emotions are physical, chemical reactions that take place. You understand? Okay? Now, the reason why that is a problem is because that's not what the Bible teaches. The Bible teaches that mankind is what? It's a living soul, which means, have I got a physical body? Now, some of you might not physically feel like you're here, but you're here. Okay? Are you spiritual? By that I mean, do you have a spiritual side of you? All mankind. Yes, we're physical and we're spiritual. Evolutionary people will not say that. Now, why that is important to realize is because from a biblical perspective, true peace, true happiness is a journey inward. Okay? Now, what happens from an evolutionary perspective if I'm not happy? What will they do? Change the circumstances. So they're trying to deal with the outside. Why are they trying to deal with the outside? Because you're not a spirit. You're physical side of it. Okay? Let me quicken this up. Because I'm actually wanting to go somewhere. Let's say you've got kids, some of you have, and I had, and when they were young, they said, Dad, I've got a sore throat. And they're chesty, and they're crying, or they're lethargic. So you can clearly see there's something wrong with them. Okay? A person who is not happy in life, can you see there's something wrong with them? You can. The Bible talks about them being burdened and heavy laden. Can you see that? You can see it. Okay? And so when people struggle with being anxious or depression, the Bible's not saying they're making it up. They are suffering with something. Okay, back to my illustration of, so you take the kid to the doctor, and what does the doctor do? He looks up and he looks down the throat, and what does he see? Your tonsils are inflamed, red. So he's noticed the symptoms, and he's taken the symptoms, and he's looked at the symptoms. But how's he looked at it? He's looked at it physically. He's taken what's that, stethoscope, and he's done this, and he's looked at your ears, and so he's diagnosed you with tonsillitis, and he's diagnosed you with tonsillitis by doing what? Looking at a physical, he's testing you physically. Okay? Another illustration, I go to the doctor. Okay, the only bone I've broken in my life was one of my toes. I've not broken anything in my life. You know how I broke it? Playing rugby. And so, my goodness, it was sore. And so I was in Zambia, so there wasn't proper doctors there, so I went to a nurse, and what did she do? She actually did nothing. She gave me Panadol. Well, that didn't help nothing, but either way, she looked at it physically, and physically she could say broken bone. So now let's zero in on this. Okay, I'm saying the pursuit of true happiness is a journey inward. Yeah, Warren comes and he's not feeling happy, and he's going to somebody who's been taught that if I'm not happy, it's because there's a physical. I'm not a soul and body. I'm just a body. So there's something wrong with me physically, because it must be because you're not a man. Man is just a physical being, and so now I'm going to this doctor, whether it's doctor, psychiatrist, or psychologist. How is he going to diagnose me if I'm just a physical being? What do you think?
Based on your symptoms.
Okay? Based off my symptoms. By that he means you go to the doctor, how you feeling, not so lekker, and he will take a DSM value, a manual, and your ticket, it's a checklist. But hold on a second. I thought depression is a physical problem. That's what they teach. What do they teach? If you've got depression, what is the problem from an evolutionary perspective? Is a chemical imbalance. Your serotonin levels or your dopamine levels they're unbalanced. That is a physical condition. Okay? Can they test, don't put up your hands, can they test that? Yes, they can. And they have done it before. But here's the problem. Because when they test you, and they say you are depressed, and they don't believe in the Bible, they will have to say it's a physical cause. Okay, if I've got tonsillitis, how do you diagnose that? Easy. You look down the throat. You can diagnose it. So now I'm depressed. It's a physical cause. How should you diagnose that? If it's a physical cause, you should diagnose it physically. Can they do that? Yes, they can. They can test serotonin levels, and they can test dopamine levels. It's called the chemical imbalance theory. But here's the problem they have got. And I'm going to give you my sources now just in case you don't believe me. They test, psychiatrists have tested serotonin levels and dopamine levels in people who are depressed, clinically depressed, and people, let's say like me, who's not clinically depressed. And guess what they have found over and over again? There is no difference in dopamine and serotonin levels. No difference whatsoever. And I can give you where I get my sources from. And the source is from an unsaved person. I'll give you his name and you can. So now, why on earth do they, when you go to a doctor and you say you're depressed, why do they not test you physically when they can? Because the results will say there's nothing physically wrong with you. Do you know why? I'm not saying a person who's depressed is not struggling with anything. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is it's not a physical problem. It is a spiritual, emotional problem. Because true happiness is not an outward physical thing. It is a journey inward. Now here's where the danger comes in. And please don't misunderstand me. I'm not picking on anybody over here. You go to a doctor, they don't test you. They say you've got a physical problem, but they don't test you physically because they can't. They diagnose you using symptoms. What do they give you? They give you an SSRI or benzos, which is a tablet. but you don't have a physical problem. And here's where the danger comes in. You take a tablet, and over a period of time, how do you feel? You feel good. What do you think? The tablet must be helping. And for a time, the tablet helps. Now, psychiatrists don't know why the tablet helps. And I'll give you an illustration they used when they're explaining it to me. Now, the tablet helps, but what happens over time? The tablet, what did you say? It eventually wears off. Your body gets used to you taking so many milligrams of SSRIs or benzos. Okay? And it wears off. Your body becomes immune to that. So what do you how do you feel? You feel lousy again. And you know what? Most cases, this doctor said 90% of the people actually feel worse. Because when you take SSRIs and benzos for a physical cause, when there is no proof that you have a physical cause, there are tremendous side effects to those tablets. They are addictive. And so now you go back to the doctor, this tablet hasn't been helping me because now you've enjoyed the high that the tablet gives you. What does he do? Ups your dosage. Or gives you more benzos or SSRIs. And you take it, and for a week, what happens? You feel good again. But what people don't realize is all those tablets have tremendous side effects. And I'll give you the illustration, give you the sources, and you can look this up on your own and listen to this on your own. The illustration he used, and it just clicked to me, and again, I'm not targeting anybody here at all. Here's Warren. Laurie's left him. She's left me. No, she still hasn't. No, she hasn't left me. She's left me. And she's taken the kids with her. And believe it or not, I'm sad about that. Now I have to cut the grass. No, you get I'm sad. And so, man, because of that, you fire me. Now I'm really in a spot of bother. And so I go to the bottle store that night. And what do? I drink. And I drink. And I drink. And I drink a whole whack. Because I don't know how much it takes to get drunk. How do I feel? No. I actually feel pretty good, because what has the alcohol done? It's numbed my feelings. And while I'm drunk, I'm feeling great. I've forgotten everything. But how do I feel the next morning? Horrible, because the alcohol in my system is now worn off. And listen to me, I'm not saying SSRIs, which is the umbrella name for antidepressants, or benzos is like alcohol, but it works exactly the same way. Except they have horrendous side effects. And I have a book there listed with all the side effects. And the reason I'm mentioning this, listen, is because the Bible says the pursuit of true happiness is a journey inward. Whereas a secular world, it's not inward, because we are not man and we are not physical, and that we are physical and spiritual. And if you don't believe me, I didn't make this up. This comes from a psychiatrist. He's not a Christian, by the way, which should add to the strength of this. He's a psychiatrist called Joseph Witt During, and he is an expert. Listen, this is not a monkey, this guy. He is an expert at psychiatric drugs and its side effects. I wish this guy was in this country, because he specifically deals with people who are addicted to antidepressants and can't get off them. And let me just say this, please listen. If you're on antidepressants, do not stop taking them. There are tremendous physical side effects. They are a strong addictive drug. If you're not on them, don't get on them. Don't start. If you're on them, don't stop. A doctor needs to take you off. This guy, Dr. Joseph Aduring, you can Google him, or I can give you the information. I can give you the stuff I listened to about him. his practice deals specifically with people, and he's not a Christian. His practice deals specifically with people who are addicted to these drugs and are suffering from the tremendous side effects. If there weren't kids here, I would list some of the side effects that these antidepressants and benzos give. It's horrible. Either way, so this, what I'm telling you, I got it from him, and I got it from a book called The Lies Your Therapists are Telling You. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Either way, what we're saying here is you cannot fill your soul with external things and expect your inner man to be happy. It's like saying, when I run out of petrol, I fill my car with oil and expect my car to move. It's not going to work. And yet that's what the world is trying to do. You cannot fill a spiritual need with a physical substance. And one person said it this way. He said, things of this world things of this world will no more keep out the trouble of spirit than a piece of paper will stop a bullet. Worldly delights are winged. And then thirdly, lastly, the pursuit of true happiness is not a goal, but a byproduct. And I've run out of time, so let me just read this. He said, happiness is like a young deer, fleet and beautiful. Hunt him, and he becomes a poor, frantic quarry. After the kill, just a piece of stinking flesh. People who start out with the purpose of trying to become happy very seldom arrive at that place of being happy. Because happiness, from a biblical perspective, is not a goal, but a byproduct. And we'll quit here. Byproduct of what? Don't be scared. I'm going to pick on you. Your relationship with God. That's it. Okay? All right, let us go to the Lord in prayer. Lord, we thank you that we can rest in you, and we pray that your Holy Spirit would just